السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي. الحمد لله نستعينه ونستغفره وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Dear brothers and sisters, welcome back to Revive Your Ramadan here on Facebook Live. How are you? How is your fasting? How is your family? And what realizations have you reached in the second full week of Ramadan? Allahu Akbar. Here we go. Are we starting the countdown now and getting teary? No. What we're doing is we're at the peak, alhamdulillah. Great guests today, as always, talking about their Ramadan and sharing their gifts and blessings with you and reflections. My guest today is Saima from Halal Fresh UK and Ali Imdad from who was a bake-off contestant, and he's now the owner of Milk Cafe. And we'll be talking food, health, and how cakes could win the fight against Islamophobia. Brothers and sisters, as always, please get your questions ready on any of the topics that we're discussing. This is your channel. This is your stream. We're here for you. And above all, right now, share the khair. Press share beneath this video, share to your page, and that way it'll be streamed live on your page. And everybody who visits you, all of your friends and family, will get access to something they might not otherwise have seen. Allahu Akbar. Remember, we're here for good information, great sharing of stories and truths, alhamdulillah, all linked to an Islamic background, love of our faith. And above all, we're here for charity. We're here for the love of the ummah. Anybody who tells you that Islam is about war or fighting or anger or limitations, they don't know this beautiful faith. This beautiful faith is all about love. Love for Allah going upwards and love for every living thing going on the horizontal. Subhanallah. So we're here for our brothers and sisters in Syria. We're on our way to raising enough money for a clinic that is absolutely vital to their well-being. Normally at this point, I would do a reminder from Imam al-Haddad's Book of Assistance. But today, what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to show you this video, inshallah, and I hope that it will touch your heart and show you the need to share what Allah has given us with our Syrian brothers and sisters, inshallah. Watch this, and I'll be back with the guests after, inshallah.
Their suffering ends in the winter and begins again in the summer. More than 1.4 million displaced people in Syria are in the camps. They lack the most basic necessities of life in fabric tents that don't protect them from the cold or the heat. Based on our motto, Reviving Societies, Watan created a new shelter for 3,600 families. The engineering team in Watan Foundation worked to prepare the grounds for a camp in the town of Kafar Jalis, northern Syria, to protect the displaced from floods in the winter season and securing a better life for them. The field team installed 3,600 tents which resist the rain in the winter and the heat in the summer in each of the towns of Kafar Jalis and aroma. Kafar Jalis can be equipped with 6 wells of drinking water, while the displaced people in Ariba camp will be provided with water by tankers. The camps lit by solar energy, in addition to the construction of bathrooms and sewage lines. The camp will house about 20,000 displaced people, including about 5,000 students deprived of their most basic rights, which is the right of education. Now we are working on equipping 4 schools inside the camp and establishing a medical clinic and the provision of food for displaced here, in addition to providing the water wells with generators. In Ramadan, be the supporter and contribute with us to change their lives.
MashaAllah, tabarakallah. I love the feeling of hope, excuse me, that gives. Hope that the people are going to actually get the treatment they need. So what I'm going to ask you to do is, excuse me, I've just been eating, I'm breaking my fast. Forgive me. See, this is live. You don't get that on a pre-record. Everybody, see the links now in the comments, inshallah. Press and follow the link and make a donation now. If all 50 of my dear brothers and sisters in this stream right now, if you give £10, if you can, that's £500 right now. Can you see? I'm just posting now. Our Syrian brothers and sisters in need, watan.org.uk, Lauren Booth. All right, that will go straight to the clinic and you can help save a life and also save a soul, save the feeling that somebody has in their soul that they need help. I'm going to bring in my first guest because I'm going to need to go off camera and have a drink of water, I think. And it's Saima from Halal Fresh UK. And we're going to be looking at a vegetarian dish this evening. And get your questions ready. She runs her own catering business and she can answer your questions on health and food and what you should and can be eating and could be eating and might want to eat in Ramadan and beyond. Welcome, Saima.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, Lauren. I suggest you go get some water. I know that feeling. Thank you, everyone.
I'm handing over to you, Saima, for 2 seconds while I have a drink, okay?
I'll be in charge. So whilst Lauren's away getting some water, I thought it would be great for me to talk about the dish that I'm going to do today. The last 2 weeks, the first week we did lamb lentil one pot. The second week we did baharat chicken stew with olives and with dates. So I thought this week would be really good to do a vegetarian dish. So I've gone for one of my favorite recipes, which is from Halal Fresh, which is a fragrant African Berber tagine with vegetables. Now, this is a fully loaded vegetable dish. It has all of your nutrients and your vitamins, such as vitamin K, vitamin C, potassium, magnesium, your minerals, copper, calcium. So it's a fantastic dish, especially during Ramadan. And if you have vegetables that are almost going off, this is the best way to use them rather than throwing them away. So what I'll do is I'm going to start off with my diced onions. I've already heated the oil and I'm putting in whole garlic because I love garlic. So that's what we're going to do. You can hear that sizzling. There we go. Hope everyone's enjoying their Ramadan so far. It's been the second week now, alhamdulillah. Yeah, it's the second. Yes, the second week. I've been enjoying it. Ramadan is one of my favorite times of the year. Oh, Lauren's back.
Salam alaikum. Now we were talking about sorry, we were talking about garlic.
Yes.
And how much garlic are you adding to that dish? Because as an English person, I'd usually go, oh, one clove, that's a lot of garlic.
I've got 5 cloves of garlic. I didn't even mince the garlic. And no, I'm not wading away any vampires or anything. It's just because of this dish. And I don't know whether you heard, Lauren, I'm making, I don't know whether you can you see that?
Yeah, it's beautiful. A tagine, yeah?
Tagine with an African spice, actually Ethiopian spice. And it's a Berber spice, which is a traditional Ethiopian spice, which I absolutely love. It's one of my current favorite spices, but I'm going to read the spices for you because it's got over 10 spices. This has, it's got cayenne pepper, fenugreek, paprika, garlic already, cumin, coriander, salt, ginger, turmeric, cinnamon, black pepper, cardamom, allspice, and cloves. So it's a great blend of spices. It's a great blend.
Cardamom. We always say this. Cardamom and cloves outside of Berber regions in the Middle East, they kind of frighten us, but they're beautiful, and that's what you need to get that authentic flavor.
Exactly. That's why you've got the cardamom and the clove, and of course the allspice as well. But the reason why this is one of my favorite dishes is you know how we were talking last week about having vegetables that may almost go off or out of date. It's a really good way for you to use up all of your vegetables, and you will see this vegetable medley.
Oh yes. Okay, I'm gonna name what I can see there. What can you see, brothers and sisters? I can see. Okay, so I can see aubergines, and I'm sure I can see mushrooms and onions and yellow peppers and tomatoes.
Okay, so what you're seeing as a mushroom is actually cauliflower.
Oh,
yeah,
controversial.
cauliflower. So what I have in here is aubergine, cauliflower, pepper, sweet potato, courgettes. What else do I have in here? I should know. A turnip. And I also have sweet potato. So these were some of the vegetables that were almost going off, and some fresh vegetables. And I thought I'm just going to throw it in here, and that's your vegetable tagine. So I'm just going to give it another few minutes for this to saute nice and brown. And then I'll throw in the vegetables, and then I'll throw in that lovely spice, which is the Berber spice. Can you get these spices in Turkey? I'm sure you can.
Yeah, you can. Yeah. It's just a case of work. It's just a case of working out the names of them. But no, they're really good on the spices here. But what we have here is every country, I think, except for England. To be honest, I don't. Do we have a spice mix? I'll tell you what we have in England, brothers and sisters. We have a herb mix. So if you go to kind of farm shops, you may find a little jar, and it'll have basil and parsley and oregano and a bit of pepper in, and then you know what I mean. They'll have that, but the spices, of course, they're not indigenous to any parts of the British Isles. So all of these lovely spice mixes are super exciting. Yeah,
and
mashallah.
It makes your life easier, so you don't have to get 10 different spices already blended for you. And I'm a bit of a snob when it comes to spices. I love greenfield spices because they're adulterated, and so the process is more cleaner as well, and you can taste the difference. So this is one of the reasons why I love that brand.
Where can you buy that?
I know they can get it in the UK. I'm not sure out of the UK, but I'm sure they must have a service where you can actually purchase if you're outside of the UK. So we were just going through, I was just speaking to the audience, and I was saying that this is our 3rd week, and next week will be our final week. I'm now starting to slowly, alhamdulillah, warm up to this, warm up to, because I've never done anything live. It's normally been pre-recorded. And then you can also, you can delete and add and what have you. But here, when you're live, that's it. You're live, aren't you?
Yeah, that's the fun of it. I mean, we're brothers and sisters. You can be a part of this as well. So I really want to know what your iftars and suhoors look like, and what are your food realizations this month. I've realized that, again, I always get to this stage, I can eat much less than I actually do outside of Ramadan. I'm not interested in snacking. But I'm still interested in sweets. Okay, I'm going to be honest. I've got my eye tonight on some caramel ice cream. I'm going to fess up here.
Ooh, that sounds lovely. Same here, actually. I just, having the whole Ramadan has taught me, and again, like we talked about, right, that we can eat little and eat well, and that is more than sufficient. And what I haven't done is had any sugar at all during Ramadan. Now, I don't know what it'll be like post-Ramadan, but during Ramadan, I haven't had any sugar apart from honey, which has been my substitute, and maple syrup has been my substitute.
Yeah, of course, honey's the thing. That's right. I've been cooking with honey instead of sugar, and in most things. For example, I made a really nice Turkish-style rice pudding, and it's very, very easy. I've actually made a little video. It's not going to be on today. I'm a bit embarrassed because I've never done a cooking video before, so it's kind of cute and a bit rough around the edges. But what I realized from that was it called for this massive amount, like like a full cup of sugar, and white sugar is so bad for us. So the next time I made it, I basically took it down to a tablespoon, because I knew when I serve it, I'm going to add honey to it anyway.
Honey is great for substitute, and coconut sugar as well is great for you. That's what I've started to use more of.
What is coconut sugar? I'm really not clear how coconuts get sweetened without sugar.
It's because of the taste of the coconut, which is sweet enough. That's the reason why. So it's more of a coconut tasting sugar rather than sugar itself. And the reason why it's sugar is because it's like a sugary grain, but it's coconut sugar, and it's more refined. It's lovely. It's a really nice substitute. So what I've done here is just to talk you through it. I first sauteed the onions and the garlic. And then in stages, I've thrown in all of the vegetables, and I've coated it with this lovely spice, which is 2 tablespoons. And I'm going to carry on coating it. And then once that's nicely coated, I'm going to add 1.5 litre of water. Just give me one moment.
Okay.
This is such an easy dish. And the reason why I love this dish.
Sizzling.
Yeah. And the reason why I love it is one pot, and it means that I don't have to do all of the washing. This is why I love one pots. This is the secret behind it. So you're not left with all of the dishes and the pots and the pans. Mm-hmm. That was 1.5 litre of water. And now I'm going to add harissa, which is an authentic Tunisian spice.
I know what this is. Hang on. It's like a tube of tomato, but isn't it? Is it made with peppers?
It's
Harissa peppers.
peppers, it's chilies. It's absolute just chilies, basically.
Oh, is it?
It's hot
Oh.
chilies. That's what it is. Hot chili. And that is just to elevate the fiery spice of the Berber, just to give it that extra kick. And because we love spicy, so I didn't actually count, but I didn't actually weigh this. I just put it in with intuition. And I'm
can we see it inside the pot, or is that going to be difficult to do?
Hold on, give me 1 minute.
Are you all right? Did you burn yourself? You okay?
Can you see that?
Oh my gosh, that looks absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah, so that's a nice colourful medley of vegetables. And this is, you know how we were talking again last week about using your vegetables either a tray bake or I make this dish. That's what I do. And then once that's nicely coated, and then I'll add a vegetable stock.
Mashallah, I'm going to take a moment to say hello to everybody, a few people in the stream. Mashallah, I can see all your comments. They're coming through. We've got Ashti and Sharif. Assalamu alaikum rahmatullahi barakatuh. Ismail, assalamu alaikum. Ayan and Kadala. Nice to see you, alhamdulillah. Kadala, Kadbirax man. Oh, where are you from? I really want to know. I want to know about that surname. I've no basis for that whatsoever in my kind of geographical memory. Greetings from Palestine. Salam alaikum, Rashid. I pray for you guys. I pray for the people of Al-Quds and, of course, all of you in the West Bank and in Gaza. May Allah bless you. Ramadan's a special time there. And, the Sakina does descend and families get together. And it's absolutely wonderful. Mashallah, mashallah. I once spent a whole month in Gaza in 2008 as a non-Muslim. And I spent a month in Gaza, having been on the Free Gaza to break the siege. And at first, Saima, I was just really annoyed because nobody could offer me anything to eat. And I'm like, oh, brilliant. So I'm stranded in a place and people can't be hospitable. This is hell. This is literally hell. Because you go to somebody's house in Gaza in Ramadan, because I'm so sorry. We have nothing to give you. Everything is packed away till this evening. And I'm like, okay, then. And then gradually it started to sort of work on me because the people were, even though they were poor and in difficult circumstances, were running around looking out for each other and trying to help each other. So everybody was cooking. If you can cook for two, the Prophet, peace be upon him, taught to, if you have enough for two, you have enough for three. If you have enough for three, you have enough for four. And the tradition for Muslims is always, have a little bit over. So if somebody knocks on your door, or you can take some to your neighbor. So
you share your plate with them, don't you? You share your plate. You share your plate with them, don't you? You share what you've got, basically.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Greetings from India, from Syed. Thanks. Mohammed Naeem says he loves the program. Well, that's made my evening. May Allah bless you. We're here for good information, and please, everybody, share to your page. We've got Ali Imdad from the who's a contestant on the Bake Off, and he's going to be talking desserts and fighting Islamophobia with cakes. Salam from Bangladesh, from Thailand, alhamdulillah. Don't forget, brothers and sisters, please make your donations to Watan to help our brothers and sisters in Syria. They really need and deserve healthcare. They have injuries. The children are unwell. The elders may have diabetes and long-term issues, and they can't get to a doctor. And this is in a very specific place, Kafajalis. So we look forward to you, inshallah, being a part of the goodness this evening. We don't pass by a good deed in Ramadan. Don't walk past it. Something in the road, move it out the way. A chance to help an old lady across the street, you do that. We go out of our way, but definitely notice when Allah Ta'ala puts a good deed in our path. Alhamdulillah. What do you say, Saima?
I agree with you. And I think that's a test to yourselves as well, isn't it? Allah Ta'ala is testing you to see how you're going to acknowledge that deed. And the more deeds that you can do during Ramadan and beyond, you've got your Jannah points, right? Because that's what we're collecting at the moment, our Jannah points, as I like to put it. We definitely need to do more of that. And it's great that something like this encourages people, because there's so much during Ramadan. There are so much things that we can, get sadaqah jariyah for, we can get zakat for, fidya for. There's so many different things that we can really enhance our golden points, as I like to put it. Yeah, definitely. I mean, I work with food banks during Ramadan, where I closely work with 2 food banks, and we are constantly in talks with them about what they need, whether it's non-perishable goods, whether it's perishable goods, whether it's toiletries, whatever it is that they need. And I do that within Ramadan and beyond Ramadan, because it's our responsibility. If we have, we must give. You know, Allah Ta'ala, alhamdulillah, I feel blessed that every morning that I can wake up and do the things that I enjoy doing. And if I'm able to do that and I can inspire other people, then that's, you know, that's a gift that Allah Ta'ala has given all of us. Because in the end, what are we going to go with? We're not going to go with our car, our house. We're going to go with our deeds. And that's what's going to get us through Jannah.
What's interesting is I know that as we get older, we tend to get less materialistic. So, example, my grandmother, I'd say to her, "What do you want for Christmas?" Okay, because we celebrated Christmas, and she'd say, "Oh, I want a slip, or just get me some underwear," you know. And I'm like, "You can buy that anytime," but she literally wouldn't. She would give all her money to the family, and then leave herself with nothing. And then she'd ask the presents to be practical things because she had no material interest whatsoever. You know, and I think probably most of that, most of us have grandparents or uncles and aunts maybe still alive who adhere to those values. But what I was going to say is this: what happens with Islam is that the young can be dematerialized as well. That doesn't mean vanished. I kind of made that word up, like dematerialized. That's a bit Star Trek, doesn't it?
Just disappear.
Yeah. Okay, that wasn't the right word. Okay.
But no, you're right. But I also think within the young people, it's because of where we are today in terms of we live in a materialistic world, especially the young people, and it's not their fault. It's through the media and looking at, you know, videos of rappers, for instance, which is, you know, an example for them. But I think when you look at your deen and what your deen teaches you, it tells you that's not what this of this dunya, that is just temporary. And it's, again, when you open your fast, it shows you how temporary it is, that when you put that first bite and you get that happiness, but afterwards that leaves you, right? Because you've had it, that excitement. So I think that's what Ramadan teaches you about the difference between materialistic things. Contentment and happiness are very two different things. Being content, it gives you longevity. Being happiness is a burst of happiness. It doesn't last that long. And this is what Ramadan teaches us about being content with little. This is what Ramadan's teaching is. And if we can walk away with that and beyond that, beyond Ramadan, then I think we've learned something from what Ramadan is. It's not about the material. And you're right, as you get older or you mature or become wiser, you realize those are things that don't make you happy. Yeah, it's great to have the lovely house or the Lamborghini or the, you know, whatever is a diamond, but those are not the real happiness. And I think we realize that as we get older. Hence, like your grandma or your mom or whatever, if they want a slip or if they want, you know, maybe even, I don't know, a book, something educational, it's because you've gone past that stage. You know, we go past that stage, but we go.
There is another element here as well. So I said to my nan, she had a few bits. Old people, they used to like ornaments, you know, and she said, "Don't get me any more. They're terrible for the dusting." So, you know, right? Because once you have things, you have to look after them, and looking after them takes your time. So you end up giving your attention, brothers and sisters, right, to inanimate objects. If you know, picking things up and polishing them is care, and we should do that. But if you have so many that it's taking 2 hours of your week, you have to think, why accumulate more stuff that needs to be cared for? I mean, there was this big movement, I guess, well, not big, but in the noughties and the 90s and the noughties, downsizing. Do you remember? And a lot of the Hollywood stars were saying, we're selling the contents of one of our 10 houses because we've got too much stuff. And even, you know, they were obviously reaching a point where we can feel like, you know, it's an illness. It's an accumulation is an illness. So Ramadan's a great time for that. And now we've got Ramadan and we can't go out shopping. Please make du'as, brothers and sisters, for Turkey. We've just entered our biggest lockdown since last year. It's necessary, but it's a big hardship on the people. And I know, brothers and sisters here from India, we make dua for you, sure, as well, for what you're going through. Only Allah knows what He's doing to change the future and what good there is in this, and what what we're learning from it, inshallah. That's it. Take a deep breath.
Yeah, I think there's some wisdom in this, isn't there? There has been some wisdom in during this pandemic. And I think it's looking at why Allah Ta'ala has put this pandemic, because everything comes from through Allah Ta'ala. And I think one of the things that what he's taught us is that there's a divide between good and evil. And that's been quite clear. Especially I've seen within my own community how our community have come together to help one another vulnerable, have been selfless. And there's been, on the other hand, there's been corporate greed. So you've seen the divide, there's a corporate greed, and yet people who have nothing have given everything and become selfless. I mean, when I was working at the food bank, just to give you an idea, there were people who were, you know, themselves were slightly vulnerable, but didn't mind helping people, because it was about helping those who were even less vulnerable than they were. So I think the pandemic has shown us two sides of the coin, very clear.
Allahu Akbar. Aisha Ball, salam alaikum. So nice to see you. She says, salam alaikum, Lauren, and salam to your husband and Saima too. Thanks for joining us. Aisha and her family are foodie, health specialists, health movement. They all seem to kind of gravitate to those different sorts of areas. MashaAllah, tabarakallah. You know, a convert sister, received some sadaqah and zakat today. And she burst into tears and she said, first thing I want to do is give somewhere. I said, no, you can't. It's for you. This particular thing is for you. Oh. That wonderful human instinct of, oh, something's arrived. I need to give it away. And that's so, that's the goodness. That's the fitra of the human being. But it's especially the fitra of the aware Muslim human being who has the teachings on top to tell us that purify your wealth, give to the needy, no good deed is lost. So many hadiths of the Prophet, peace be upon him, about doing good. Talking of doing good, brothers and sisters, we're going to go to a video now of a sister who needs your help. And then we're going to come back and have another look at Saima's final product, inshallah ta'ala. Please share this to your page. And make sure your friends and family are watching.
السلام عليكم. نحن حاليا بمخيم كفر جالس اللي تم إنشاؤه من قبل منظومة وطن. هاي المخيمات اللي رح تقوي قرابة 20,000 نزح بيضموا مئات الحالات المرضية. حاليا رح نزور أحد الحالات لنتعرف على وضعها. السلام عليكم.
عليكم السلام.
كيفك يا حجي؟
مليح من الله.
كيف صحتك؟
والله على الله يا ابني، هذا اللي الله كاتب علينا.
معك مرة أمراض شيء؟
معايا مفاصل، معايا وجع عيون، معايا قولات شو اسمه ضغط يطلع، مو ينزل لونه ينزل أشوى يطلع. لما تجيني الدوخة ودي أرتشي ساعة ساعتين لا أصحى على حالي، ما أصحى على حالي.
عم تاخذي دواء مو؟
ما قطعت ولا ما عندي قدرة أجيب والله بلعه. أهل المروة كثيرين.
تشتري الدواء مشترى؟
مشترى كله مشترى وبغالي، غالي دواي غالي.
لما كنتوا بالمخيم السابق كان في عندكم شي نقطة طبية أو كان حدا مثلا يجيب لكم دواء؟
عاد يجيب لنا، رحنا نوبتين ثلاث على كفر جالس ما انطونا شيء، قلت له ماني لا أقدر أروح ولا أقدر أجي.
يعني بتشتري الدواء على حسابك؟
على حسابي والله يا أبويا. عندي قطرات لعيوني، سويت لهاي عملية وهاي ما أشوف بيها. عندي وجع ذاني، عندي وجع سنوني، عندي ركبي هاي صار لي سنتين أقدم على دار أسوي عملية وما لي قدرة. بالناس سوت والله ونجحت بس ما لي قدرة أسويها. إي والله هذا اللي
الله يشفيك يا رب.
يشفي الجميع إن شاء الله. الله يعطيك العافية يا أبو.
الله يعافيك. مثل ما أننا شايفين يعني في كتير حالات مرضية بحاجة لأدوية مستمرة، وخاصة النازحين أوضاعهم المادية صعبة، فهني بحاجة دعم حقيقي ومستمر لتغطية كافة احتياجاتهم الطبية.
Okay, brothers and sisters, time to press donate, visit the links and make a donation to the IDP Village Clinic, inshallah. Okay, Saima, over to you. How's the food? You're on mute, Saima.
Oh, hold on. Yeah. So the food is cooked. That's it. Look how long that took.
Amazing. Wow.
Literally
Really?
15, 20 minutes. Because the vegetables are nice and tender. They're not completely soft. They're tender, which means they retain most of the nutrients and the minerals and the vitamins. And this is why I love this dish. So there we go. That's the lovely vegetable tagine.
Okay, you're going to have to tilt it a little bit higher, Absolutely gorgeous. Wow. spicy, chili,
Chili,
and
yeah.
full of flavor and vegetables. My darling husband, won't eat vegetables.
Won't he?
No.
So you can replace it with meat. You can throw like chunks of meat in
No,
there.
we're not doing big chunks of meat. It's wonderful. It looks lovely. I'll make it for myself, brothers and sisters. Can you? Do you want to post the and what's that, couscous?
And that's couscous. So what I did was the juice, or should I say, the soup of the couscous. I mean, of the soup. I just threw it in there, but I poured it in there, should I say, and then basically added the coriander, and I also added apricots, dried apricot.
Fried apricots. Can I see? I want to have a look. Oh, dried apricots. Oh, okay. Are they finely sliced? Are they done really small? Nice, lovely.
Apricots. So that will give you the sweet and sort of savory taste, and take a little bit away, take away the heat if you don't like much heat. But again, with this dish, there's so much you can do with it. It's so versatile. Honestly, I'll share this recipe with you. This has been a #1 hit for us. Actually, everyone has really enjoyed this dish because this is the best way to get rid of your veggies and eat, loaded with veggies and vitamins and minerals. But yeah, that's the dish done. That's
wonderful. Saima, that was absolutely fantastic. Where can everybody find you, and how can they get some of your food? Inshallah.
So you can find me on Facebook, which is Halal Fresh UK, and they can find me on Instagram, which is again Halal Fresh UK. And I'll be more than happy. I've already have this recipe on Instagram, and I think I have it on Facebook as well. But if they want the sort of the full top to toe method and what have you, I can definitely share that. So yeah, just get in touch. But we're going to reopen after Ramadan, which is on the 17th of May, inshallah. So until then, we're closed.
And what are you going to be doing next week for us?
Next week, I was thinking of doing fish, because that way we've done red meat, we've done white meat, and we've done vegetarian, and then we'll do fish. So that means every week we've had something different. So I'm thinking about doing salmon, or I might do white bait or sea bass. I don't know yet. I'm going to think about it. And then
a sister came on and she did halal girl. She did salmon, so maybe not salmon.
So I won't do salmon. Then I'll do cod. Cod is really nice.
Okay.
So I'll do a tray bake.
Fantastic. We look forward to it. Thanks, Saima. May Allah Ta'ala bless you. Keep us in your du'as.
Thank you. Take care. Bye-bye.
Take care, darling. Masalama. Wasn't that brilliant? So there you go. That's your one pot dish of the week here on Revive Your Ramadan, mashallah. And you can find Sister Saima at Halal Fresh UK. And of course, that's only in the UK, but we want you to share your recipes with us as well. Some one pot, easy recipes that you advise other people to try. And by the way, I'd really like some brothers to be posting here about cooking, mashallah. There's nothing in the law that says that men can't cook. In fact, some of the greatest chefs, you might have noticed, are indeed men. So not Ali Dower, I might add, much as we love him as a younger brother. His scrambled eggs were I think just for his family, shall we say, mashallah. But he did it with love, and we're all about love here, mashallah. So my next guest today is Ali Imdad. I can already tell, mashallah, he's got a great sense of humor. He was on the British Bake Off, and he now has his own cafe called, I think it's called Milk Cafe, and I'm hoping he's joining us now. Assalamu alaikum rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu.
Welcome, Salam. How are you, Lauren?
Alhamdulillah. Brother, first of all, how is your health and how is your tooth?
You know what? You can tell it's gone down now, so it's much better. It was swollen about, was it a week ago that we spoke?
A week ago, yeah.
And it was like out here, but it's gone down now. The benefits of
Did you do the salt water? Did you do the salt water?
I did, yeah. You told me to do salt water. I did that for about a week, and I mean, it seemed to do the job. So I'm back to normal. No more sort of abnormally enlarged side of my face.
It looked so painful, brothers and sisters. I mean, literally, I've never seen someone with a chipmunk cheek. I was really concerned. Right, it was a chipmunk cheek.
It was worse than that, but it looked like I was smuggling a watermelon, like as I was just walking down the street. Yeah. It was so embarrassing.
Ali, brothers and sisters here, would love to learn good advice on health, well-being, but also to know people's journeys. Tell us about. We've vanished. Tell us about your journey. First of all, tell us your journey about food. You're from Birmingham?
Yeah. So I'm from Birmingham, and I guess I'm kind of known for being on the Great British Bake Off. I was on there a few years ago, and from there I opened up my own patisserie and cafe. And yeah, that's been in Birmingham. We're just in the middle of working on opening one in Leicester right now. I'm kind of at that shop right now. And yeah, alhamdulillah, just sort of working through. Yeah, I guess that's my journey in like 2 sentences.
No, I'm going to have to go much, much deeper than that. How did you, as a boy from a Desi background, begin to start cooking? Weren't you elbowed out by the women in your family?
Yeah, pretty much, to be honest. So I had never cooked in my life, to be honest. Even the oven in our house was used for storage. We never used it other than once a year on Eid. Mom would sort of bake a leg of lamb. So it was when I moved to uni in Leicester. I lived out with a few friends of mine, and one of my friends, he had a cookbook, and it was him actually who encouraged me to sort of start cooking. He would kind of make chicken pies and cottage pies and Victoria sponges. Once a week, we'd have some friends over, and then I just started sort of helping him. And so we'd start, cooking and baking once a week for our friends. And then I was also part of the Islamic Society at my university. And about twice a year, we'd hold a charity bake sale and raise money for, I'm not too sure, it might have been Islamic relief, I'm not too sure. And so then I thought that was a perfect opportunity for me to start baking, because, this is about 10, 12 years ago. Almost every single person who baked for those charity bake sales were women. It was the females of our society, of the Islamic Society, who'd bring in, amazing bakes. I mean, I'm not here to undermine them. They were fantastic bakes. But I just hated this idea that, the guys were leading the society whilst the women were in the kitchen baking for them. And I was just like, come on. And so I was like, I'm going to get into the kitchen. And I sort of used to bake, me and my housemate, who was also a guy. And so, yeah, we used to start baking for the Baking Society. And that's when I realized, I really enjoy this. I mean, it really it pushes the boundaries of your creativity, but also brings you joy, because you're seeing the smiles on people's faces when they have a cupcake, or when they have a macaron, or when they have a slice of Victoria sponge. And it kind of grew from there. I just absolutely love the idea of, I guess now you'd call me a feeder, where, excuse me, I just love the idea of having people around and just feeding them.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's kind of where it started, and it's kind of grown from there. That sort of passion is still there. I absolutely love the idea of having people around and making a variety of dishes and just seeing them smile as they eat. So yeah, you can call me a feeder if you like, but that's who I am. I just love feeding people.
MashaAllah. You know what? I was a huge Bake Off fan. What was the most difficult thing that you learned or did, or mistake you made in the show?
Well, I was on there quite a few years ago. I think about 8 years ago, the first time round, and I was such a novice. I mean, I don't know how I got on, if I'm being honest with you. I found every single stage so difficult, because everyone else I was on there with, they was like, oh yeah, I make croque and bouche, and yeah, I'm such a great crème pâtissière. And I was there like, how do you make jam again? So it was such a learning experience for me. I'd absolutely say I was more of a baker after Bake Off than I was a baker before Bake Off. So when people ask me what was so difficult about Bake Off, I'd say every single step.
Wow.
I'm surprised I got on, to be honest.
MashaAllah. And now you've opened is it Milk Cafe or Milk Restaurant?
So Milk was a pop-up I did in London. My permanent cafe is called Coco.
Oh, Coco. And that's in Birmingham.
That's in Birmingham, and soon to be Leicester too.
Now, I have been reading about your vision. There was a really nice interview with you in Arab News, and you talked about bringing, the best of English baking in and giving it some Desi twist. Talk to us about that vision, because there's one thing I always have a little bit of a dig about English food here, and it's just salt and pepper and parsley, and that's it. But I'm telling you, I think our desserts and our cakes are underestimated on the world stage.
Yeah, I wouldn't just say underestimated. I'd say, and I know I'm going to get hate for this, but I'd say unparalleled. I think the desserts of the Western world, particularly Belgium, France, the UK, Germany, I honestly think it's unparalleled throughout the world. I think the flavors of the Eastern world are unparalleled. So, when you talk about saffron and rose and cardamom, and matcha and, red bean, I think that is unparalleled. But when you bring the two worlds together, when you use the flavors of the East, but the sort of technicalities of the West, that's when you're talking about perfection. I just don't think we should be afraid of combining the best of both worlds. And that's kind of what I liked doing. I liked using, the technically brilliant eclairs or a sticky toffee pudding and just adding a little bit of a twist of using maybe a bit of cinnamon, or maybe using a bit of rose or matcha from Japan, or red bean from China, or saffron from Iran. It was just about merging the two sort of the technicalities of the West and the flavors of the East. And I think that's what I kind of love doing, and I'm not afraid to say it, to be honest. And I mean, I want
to talk a little bit about the kind of desi cake culture, because it's definitely not something that I can understand, and I'll tell you why. Because taken out of the context of those cities and plonked in small heath, and you're wandering off the street and you go, oh, a cake shop, and then you're hit by the amount of sugar that a whole nation could eat in a year. And now, of course, I'm guessing that these cakes held and sweets were so sugary because it was literally one day a year. These were your Eid treats. These were like, pack it in because it's gonna. Is that the culture? Is that where it came from?
Yeah. So there's a double meaning for that. Firstly, you gotta remember a lot of these desserts have been carried on for well over a century, and if you go back a century, there weren't fridges or freezers back then, and sugar is a great preservative. So you'll see a lot of desserts in the Middle East, but also in sort of India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, where it's soaked in sugar syrup, and that's because it's a great preservative. So whilst a lot of these dishes would only last a day or two, once you soak it in sugar syrup, you've got a dish that will last you a week. So there was an element of using it as being a preservative, but also it was because, a lot of these countries, not all, but a lot of them, especially in the villages, were from not particularly prosperous areas. And so sugar wasn't easy to get hold of. Having treats wasn't that common. You'd be often eating to survive, or if not, eating for the nutritional value more than anything else. And these desserts, which were often only eaten once or twice a year, were brought in to lift the spirit. I mean, I was listening to your talk with Saima, and I do see that sugar can have a detrimental effect on how we use it. But I also think, and I know we spoke about this before privately, that we should be very careful about how we label sugar and desserts that are derived from sugar, because at the end of the day, sugar is a carbohydrate. We need carbohydrates to live. And just imagine you've had a hard week, or you've had a hard day, or you had a hard month, and your mother or your brother or your father or a chef down the road has made you a beautiful cake or ras malai or baklava, and it's in front of you. We should not be saying, and I'm not saying anybody has, but I'm afraid that as a society is beginning to say that we should label guilt on what we eat. There is no guilt in sugar. The calorie intake of honey or maple syrup, which are naturally occurring, is the same as processed white sugar. So as long as we're eating in moderation and knowing what we're eating and how we're eating it, I think we shouldn't be afraid to have a big wedge of Victoria sandwich, once a week, or whenever you feel down, or treating yourself on Eid day to baklava if you want, or to ras malai or gulab jamun if you want.
So what I'd like to ask then is where do you stand as a baker on the on substituting, because refined sugar, our food is refined, it goes through processes, and that takes out a lot of the natural absorption and any of the goodness and the natural carbohydrates that were in there, and make it into a third thing, a third party, a third element, if you like. So, but things like a Victoria sponge, which needs to be light and puffy, I've tried this, okay? I've tried making cakes with honey, and they're great for stodge, because they go and they're like bricks. And you could hit somebody with it, or you can eat it and it'll keep you full for a week. But you can't do the light, or can you? Am I using honey wrong?
With honey you can't, and there's not much you can do. There are some substitutes that you can use, sweeteners. You can use coconut sugar. But if I'm being honest with you, I'm here more to say, if you want to use white sugar, just use white sugar, and I'll tell you why. When you come, I know you talk about nutritional value. There actually isn't that much difference between the nutritional value of processed white sugar or honey or maple syrup. Also, what I think is more important is that sugar alternatives aren't always accessible for people from working class backgrounds, or people who don't have that much expendable income. If you're talking about alternatives to sugar, they're often at least 300 or 400% more expensive than white sugar. And so whilst I do think if you can afford using healthy alternatives, by all means do. I'm not here to bash you. By all means use alternatives. But if you're not, if what's accessible to you is white sugar, I don't want you to feel as though there's anything wrong with using that. There isn't. It holds the same carbohydrate and calorie value as any other sugar. The nutrients aren't brilliant, if I'm being honest with you. But if you're using it to put a smile on somebody's face, or if that's all you can afford and you feel you deserve a treat, just use it. I mean, it really isn't that bad. It gives you carbohydrate.
This message is not authorized by the hosts of this program. This is purely Ali Imdad's personal
absolutely mine.
I just want to make that totally clear, folks.
I do need to add that there was a study done in America which looked over 350,000 people, and it showed that white sugar didn't increase the risk of death. So I'm just trying to say we need to differentiate between what we think is better for us and what we think is harmful for our health. Sugar in moderation is not harmful for our health. That is a fib.
Nothing in moderation can hurt us. But you've made a video, and this is great for kids to try at home. Introduce us to the little bit of fun unbaking that you did for us.
Yeah, so this is just a bit of fun that you can, if you're new to baking, try it yourself. If you want to get kids involved, and it does involve sugar, so don't be afraid of it. And yeah, it's just how to make really pretty dip-dyed biscuits that you can get kids involved doing, and it's really good for Eid, I'd say.
Okay, here's his Eid batch of biscuits coming up with Ali Imdad.
Hi. So I haven't done this like this before, so bear with me. So I'm Ali Imdad. I was on the Great British Bake Off a few years ago, and I also run and own a cafe and patisserie called Coco, which I'm in right now. Because of coronavirus and the whole social distancing thing, I didn't want anyone to sort of come help me record anything. I thought I'd do it on my own and put a fun spin on it. So literally my phone's in front of me. I pressed record and I'm hoping for the best. Right, so I won't lie to you, I'm a very busy man. So I couldn't really make anything elaborate, but I thought a lot of people will probably be quite busy right now as it is, so I didn't want to make something so complicated. I thought I'd make something fun, something simple, and something you don't have to be a baker to do. In fact, this is so simple you can probably get your kids involved. It's probably quite fun to do. So what I have, I'll tell you what I'm making first. I'm showing you how to decorate biscuits with a sort of dip dye effect, which is all the rage right now. And it's really simple, to be honest. Really all you need are 3 ingredients: egg white, icing sugar, and whatever food coloring you have or you want. So I have 1 egg white here and 200 grams of icing sugar there. Now wish me luck. I'm gonna whip up the egg whites into a sort of meringue stage. See how that goes. Okay, it's not on. Oh god. Listen, I didn't say this was gonna be smooth, so Right. Okay, it's on there. Okay. So now you just have to watch me whisk my eggs for about 5 minutes. That was pretty quick actually. Was that even a minute? Alright, I'll show you what it should look like. So it should be, can you see? It should be very foamy, very thick, glossy. And then from there, you want to start adding the icing sugar about a tablespoon at a time, and then whisk in. You want to keep doing that until all the icing sugar is mixed in with the egg white. And then back with the whisk. Yeah. Okay. Right. Now you get your spoon ready. Actually, not even. So you get your, where's my color? Food coloring. I've got pink here because pink is one of my favorite food colorings. And let's show you. So you add a little bit, and then you just stir that through like that. And then I have some biscuits that I made earlier. These are Viennese Worlds, and obviously I didn't actually make them earlier. I went to Tesco, which is across the bridge, and brought some because I don't know, I just couldn't be bothered baking today. Fast getting to me, you know how it is. And then the top side, you want it to be facing downwards. You want to dip, but not all the way in. Dip, give it a little bit of a twist, and pull up. Let the excess drip off, and then turn it around. And then look, you have this really cute, pretty, simple but elegant design. I'll show you again with another one of my homemade cookies. Oh, okay, maybe not that one. Let's give you a close-up. Right, so you see, and then dip, twist, up, get rid of the excess, and there, look how pretty that is. And as it kind of, the color begins to fade, you can just kind of add some more in, swirl it in. You can add different colors as well.
Come on. Brilliant. Amazing. The production values there were clearly BBC standard. I've
Only the best for you,
literally,
Lauren.
I've
Only the
never
best.
seen anything quite like it. You know, I'm deeply, deeply impressed.
I'm here
Mashallah.
for you, Lauren. I'm here for you. Whenever you need me for filming, I'm here.
Do you know what? I think, brothers and sisters, we want to say a big thank you to Ali because he's given up his time for watan.org.uk to entertain you, to give you some little tips about baking, to share his story because he believes in looking after the Syrian brothers and sisters. So we really genuinely appreciate that you made a trip to Tesco's and did that and filmed it and, you know, and are here tonight. Thank you so much. May Allah bless
No
you.
worries. No worries.
I just briefly want to talk about your struggle with Islamophobia, which you've mentioned in some of your interviews. Tell us a little bit about your journey and what you hope to achieve by possibly opening, you know, the first place to fuse East and West cakes.
Yeah, well, I just think we're at a stage where Islamophobia is becoming quite rampant, particularly in the West. It's beginning to pass the dinner table test where you can talk about it and not be accused of any type of phobia or any type of discrimination. And that's, well, quite concerning, to be honest. And I just think, you know, a type of rhetoric I hear a lot is that it's not our responsibility to educate people. And I think that's a really dangerous rhetoric to use because it may not be our responsibility to educate people against their racism, but their racism isn't going to go away unless we take a step forward and help educate people on you know what being Muslim is and what Islam really is. And I think that's something I really want to do. And I think what really helps is food, because food is something that everybody loves. It's something that no matter what your political affiliation, whether you're from the left, whether you're from the right, you will appreciate food. And I think one thing that I think really helps is just inviting people around for food. I mean, anyone you know, just be like, let's go out for a meal, you know what I mean? Or let me cook for you. And that's the best way I find in helping break down barriers, if you know what I mean, because food is something where you can kind of just relax and be at ease, really open up and kind of get to know different people, different cultures as well, because isn't food the best gateway of understanding different cultures? I mean, everyone loves an Indian curry. And I think that's a great way of kind of getting people to sort of sit down, talk, and introduce people that you may feel might have sort of concerning opinions on your race or your religion, and sort of talk them through it through the medium of food.
I don't know. I've always been a little bit concerned though by the certain sections of the sidelines of British society who are like, yeah, right, we like curry, but the rest of you can go home. I mean, you know, there's also a thing of taking the best of other people's culture and not talking to the people. What kind of struggles have you had, and what have you met in the UK, and how are you moving on from that?
Right. Well, on the whole, I have to say the UK is a great country. I mean, I love living in England. I love being here. The opportunities and the freedoms it offers, I find to some extent unparalleled anywhere else. And I'm sure people will disagree, and that's absolutely fine. That's the beauty of opinion. But that isn't to say that there aren't sections of society that aren't, you know, incredibly discriminatory and particularly Islamophobic. And it's hard to overcome, because when a lot of these people are afraid to say what their thoughts are, but you know they have these opinions, how do you change that? And I kind of think the best way to do it is just to be yourself. I mean, at the end of the day, as Muslims, as people, we have the same concerns, don't we? We want to get up in the morning, we want to have breakfast, well, unless you're fasting. But you want to go to work, you want to, you know, build a life for yourself, for your family, for the people that you love. And that's the bridge that binds us all together. At the crux of it, every single one of us are human, and we have the same fears as everybody else. We bleed just like everybody else. We have the same desires. We want to travel and eat and dress just like everybody else. And I think that's what I like to focus on, is rather than what divides us, it's what brings us together. It's the fact that at the end of the day, we are all skin and blood. Who we worship, how we worship, it's something that's, you know, individual to us. But at the end of the day, let's just get on with life, because I don't think anybody realizes even us, I don't think even you and I sitting here realizes how finite our life is. You know, I always think of, this is such a weird thing, but I always think of the Roman era and the Greek era. You know, that's 2,000 years ago, but their life was just as valuable as ours is. They had families that they cared about. They had food that they had to worry about providing for, and yet they're gone. Nobody knows their name anymore. Nobody cares about who their family were or what their concerns were. And that's going to be us at one stage. You know, all the little things that we're worried about will be little etchings in history in the not too distant future. So we need to be constantly aware of how finite our life actually is. 30, 40, 50, if you're really lucky, 90, 100 years, that actually is absolutely nothing. And before you know it, we'll be a speck in history. So as much as you can, like, let's stop worrying about these little things, and let's try and live our life to the best that we can, regardless of your faith, regardless of your race or your religion. Let's just try and get on and trying to make the most out of, if you don't believe in an afterlife, that's fine. Let's try and make the most out of the short life that we have. And if you do believe in an afterlife, let's try and make it the best one that we can with the small time that we have here.
MashaAllah, what a fantastic message. I'm sure you agree, brothers and sisters. The Prophet, peace be upon us, be upon him, taught us to think of death often, not so that we'd get morose, but so we'd get active, so that we'd have a direction. I think when we don't think about death, we can get kind of lazy and sluggish and a bit lost in our own moment. But when you know that there is, Allah Ta'ala hasn't made us eternal in this particular era for a reason, because God knows we'd be on the sofa the whole time watching reruns, right? So, so we have a direction to go in. May Allah Ta'ala bless you, brothers and sisters. That's it for today. I'm back tomorrow, same time, inshallah ta'ala, with Brother Hassan Rasool, who has one of the greatest adhans and a beautiful, beautiful recitation voice. Brother Ali, where can people find you?
I guess Instagram, Ali Imdad Bakes. You can find me on there.
Please go find Ali Imdad Bakes. Give him a big thumbs up. Find out about his work. And if you're in Leicester or you're in Birmingham, go visit him as soon as things are open properly. May Allah Ta'ala bless you. And thanks again for joining us, Ali.
Thank you. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam. Rahmatullahi barakatuh. Brothers and sisters, please use the link to watan.org.uk. Make your donations now. Ramadan is the best time for giving. And I'll see you tomorrow, inshallah. Masalam.
Their suffering ends in the winter and begins again in the summer. More than 1.4 million displaced people in Syria are in the camps. They lack the most basic necessities of life in fabric tents that don't protect them from the cold or the heat. Based on our motto, Reviving Societies, Watan created a new shelter for 3,600 families. The engineering team in Watan Foundation worked to prepare the grounds for a camp in the town of Kafar Jalis, northern Syria, to protect the displaced from floods in the winter season and securing a better life for them. The field team installed 3,600 tents which resist the rain in the winter and the heat in the summer in each of the towns of Kafar Jalis and Aroma. Kafar Jalis camp equipped with 6 wells of drinking water, while the displaced people in Ariba camp will be provided with water by tankers. The camps lit by solar energy, in addition to the construction of bathrooms and sewage lines. The camp will house about 20,000 displaced people, including about 5,000 students deprived of their most basic rights, which is the right of education. Now we are working on equipping 4 schools inside the camp and establishing a medical clinic and the provision of food for displaced here, in addition to providing the water wells with generators. In Ramadan, be the supporter and contribute with us to change their lives.